A memory revolution. A high school senior logs onto a computer library to double-check the application due date for college admission nearby. A librarian helps a group of biology students use a database to search for recent studies about mammals. Okay, so this is setting the scene. It's almost a hook, giving examples or scenarios where people use a library, computer, or a database in a library to find information. In the past few decades, the internet has become an integral component of daily life for many people. Today, people increasingly rely on the internet's vast accumulation of sources to examine how this reliance is modifying the strategies people use to store and prioritize information in the mind. Okay, so it takes the examples of using outside sort of access to information to discussing today's situation. The internet is one way to do that, and scientists are beginning to study how people rely on storing and prioritizing information. This is your thesis claim at the end of the intro paragraph. Okay, a dependable and valuable asset. So paragraph 2, psychologists from the University of California create an experiment to study students' tendency to depend on the internet for facts. So what did they do? They had people use the internet and Google and not Google. And then again, and the results showed 83% of the internet group continued to consult Google in the second round, while only 63% of the memory group chose to do so. So once you start using Google, you end up relying on it. That seems to be the result or conclusion from one study about how to access information. Paragraph 3. People's growing inclination to rely on the internet in order to retrieve information, particularly facts and figures, is called cognitive offloading. So they're defining this cognitive offloading. This guy wrote extensively about the topic. He says it's been taking place for centuries. In the past, people used encyclopedias to store information that they couldn't keep in their memories. However, today, the internet takes on that role. So he makes a comparison. And it's a good thing, the writer says, because that frees people up to do more complex cognitive feats, connecting data, new information, solving problems. So higher difficulty problems and thinking they can do if they offload kind of the facts and data and statistics to an internet or an encyclopedia. Paragraph 4. The use of the internet also appears to be modifying strategies people use to store information in their mind. So this is the filing information away. So this is probably how people file information away, the next section of this passage. And again, researchers, and again, a study, several studies, to discover how people efficiently manage their information intake. Okay, we have a sequential setup. I see to begin and then in another for the next paragraph. To begin, researchers examined how people evaluate which information deserves their effort to remember. Okay, slightly different type of study than the other ones. So they typed statements in, and they were either told it would be erased, and half were told it wouldn't be erased. Next, they wrote down every fact they could recall. Those who believed the information would be erased and no longer available could recall 40% more than those who thought the information would be saved. So if you thought it would be saved, you forgot the information itself because you relied on where you could find it, it seems like, okay? Whereas the others spent time to remember it. In another experiment, so again, these are all experiments in this passage, the same researchers tested the ability of study participants to remember where to access information. For that trial, they read and typed trivia statements, and overall, the conclusion was participants recalled the information's location more often than the content itself. The research concluded that memory is adapting to the internet age by prioritizing where to locate information. The internet has become an important form of transactive memory, an external source of the recollections. Okay, so we've had different studies about how people manage the information, how they file away the information. 7, as the internet's resources continue to expand our external memory, some question whether the process may cause people to depend too heavily on technology. Okay, so we've had nothing but from sort of paragraph 2 to 6 studies and experiments about this. Now we have some questioning potential problems related to this. Some question whether it may cause people to depend too heavily on technology. However, contrasting, we're probably going to get something more positive now. Harvard University professor says knowledge is increasing exponentially. Waking hours are not. Fortunately, the internet and information technologies help us manage this situation. Far from making us stupid, these technologies are the only things that will keep us smart. So essentially, they're saying that there's more information, more and more coming at us in the modern world. The internet is helping us manage that information. So it leaves us to use our big brains to solve problems rather than store things in memory. Okay. What does our chart tell us? Every chart or figure tells us a story. How memory works is this one. It's a flow chart diagram that new information comes in, goes into short-term memory. Looks like you have to rehearse it and with repetition to keep it in memory. Otherwise, it just gets forgotten. And that kept memory goes into a longer-term storage, which can decay over time or be retrieved back again. So it's kind of the process of how memory works. Okay, let's answer the questions.